So here's a thing that doesn't get discussed a lot in anime communities, which I guess I'm not surprised about considering a lot of anime discussion is very much based around uh, relevant seasonal shows and just a few others. But there's this weird problem that we have in the English speaking anime community that's not really touched upon at all, and that's the one of crediting. Now, this isn't about crediting of new shows. Thanks to the internet, of course, we have um, directors, animators confirming via social media and stuff the work that they've done on various projects. And crediting in general has just been a lot better. But there's a really big issue with older anime and crediting that's often not noticed or discussed, which I'd like to bring up today. So I mainly bring this up because outside of all this, I like to do group watches. I help some friends run some group watches, and we do group watches of many older anime. And recently we did a group watch of His and Her Circumstances, also known as Kare Kano, which is a beloved classic by Gainax and a great show which everyone should definitely watch. But anyway, there's been a long-standing rumor that Kare Kano had a lot of production issues, and it definitely did. But to the extent and what actually happened remains a mystery. It's often cited that after a certain period, Hideaki Anno was no longer involved in the project, and Kazuya Tsuramaki took over directorial roles. But here's the thing: the credits don't actually say this, and the only source we could find for that claim was an offhanded comment made at a Western convention about 10 years ago, which has been since repeated and now is just accepted as the fact when it really isn't. Because within the credits itself, Hideaki Anno is still around in those credits, even if it's under a different name or spelt differently and uses a different language, but he's credited for the script on the final episode. So Hideaki Anno was never completely removed from the project. He was still around, just in a different role. And Kazuya Tsuramaki never took over directorial roles in Kare Kano. In fact, we can't find a credit for this anywhere. It's just simply not in there. Whilst he did work on the project, taking over Anno's directorial role is not what he did. So we're led to believe that the later episodes of Kare Kano, which are often which are often credited to Kazuya Tsuramaki, we believe is whilst Hideaki Anno is obviously not the director for these, we believe that the episode directors and the storyboarders had a lot more freedom and control over these episodes, and that's why they're so different from the rest. Another show we've had issues on is Mobile Police Patlabor, which we're currently group watching. We're very early on into this, but we've just started watching the early days OVAs, and we found some interesting issues with the credits. So within these credits, there's actually no credit in all the episodes for storyboarding, which is odd because if you go onto English anime databases such as AniDB and ANN, Rutaro Nakamura is actually credited as storyboarder for episodes 2 and 4. But within the actual credits itself, we found that he's actually the episode director of these episodes and not the storyboarder. And it's so strange about the storyboards because the storyboard credit is simply not in the OVA credits themselves. And the only source we could find in Japanese was actually on the Japanese Wikipedia page, which says that Mamoru Oshii was the storyboarder for the early days OVAs. We believe that this was the case, but we're only confident with going ahead with this because we've had later confirmation via Brian Roos, sorry if I've pronounced the name wrong, via Twitter, who said that he's seen this credit before in Japanese from a non-Wikipedia source. Brian, if you didn't know, actually wrote a book about Mamoru Oshii, and he's basically the guy to go to for all Oshii content. So that's why we believe that he did the storyboarding credits, but it's straight up not in there, and it's really hard to find these sources because AniDB and the Anime News Network databases they're probably the best ones we go to for English-speaking anime databases, but they're also heavily incorrect sometimes. But it's not of the fault of these English-speaking people, just because whilst there are some mistranslations, I believe that Takuya Igarashi actually goes under various different names on the database in Japanese. Sometimes the Japanese sources are simply not there, and trying to find these sources is extremely difficult. Like, just going back to Kare Kano, you managed to find a Japanese source for all the credits, but it was really difficult to find, and it took lots and lots of Google searching. And a more sad predicament about it is that people who know what these credits are just straight up not around on the internet, or just dead, and or just sadly passed on from us, which is a sad indicament of what anime's industry thinks about the actual creators of anime itself, where they're not willing to credit accurately like this. So I guess what I want to say is that if you believe you have any information or see something incorrect on an English anime database, just correct it. This is a call to source, you could say. I hope you found this interesting. My name's been Jackie, and I hope you have a good day.